Drug testing student athletes. If you're a Division I college athlete, that comes with certain responsibilities. 22 News I-Team reporter Ryan Walsh uncovered how many UMass athletes are drug tested and how many failed.
We also discovered what drugs those failed tests were for and how much it costs us, the taxpayer.
If you put on the UMass maroon, there's a good chance you're going to be drug tested. 250 to 300 student athletes in all 21 sports are randomly drug tested each year. The 22 News I-Team obtained the results. We found that since 2012, UMass student athletes have tested positive for cocaine, amphetamines, oxycodone, oxymorphone, and marijuana. Ryan Bamford's the athletic director at UMass. He got the job in the spring of 2015.
What information does this give the school to work with its student athletes?
Well, we know the NCAA tests generally for performance-enhancing drugs. They're getting away from the recreational and street drug aspect, making that more of an institutional decision.
UMass doesn't have to drug test its athletes. The NCAA does at championships and at schools randomly year-round.
Here's how the drug tests work. An athlete will get a 6 to 8 hour warning that they'll be tested. The collector comes to campus, processes and packages the sample, and then sends the sample back to a lab in Tennessee. Since 2012, UMass athletes have failed 54 drug tests. 45 different athletes failed a test, and there were 9 repeat offenders. 93% of those failed drug tests have come back positive for marijuana.
If Massachusetts does end up passing a law that makes recreational marijuana legal, will UMass continue to test its student athletes?
We will. We will. For us, it's a social and welfare and a well-being issue. It's not a legal issue for us. It's what they're doing to their bodies. We want peak performance.
Starting in the fall of 2014, the penalties changed from a 3 strikes you're out policy to a 4 strike policy. Now, the student athlete won't be suspended for their first failed test. A second failed test, the athlete will be suspended for 10% of their season. 3 failed tests, the athlete will miss half their season. And 4 failed tests, that's going to result in the athlete being kicked off the team and losing their scholarship.
Do you think if all the students across UMass, a 5% sample were tested, that number would be higher if failed drug tests than athletes?
I think it would be higher.
Are UMass students athletes held at a higher standard than the rest of the student body?
Sure. And that's, they should be. A good majority of them are on scholarship. And again, it's a privilege, not a right, to be a student athlete at the University of Massachusetts.
Overall, about 5% of the student athletes tested fail a drug test. UMass wouldn't release which sports these drug tests were for due to us potentially being able to identify certain players. Now, let's look at the cost to taxpayers. $36,000 just about in 4 years it cost us, or about $684 for each failed test and $38 per test. I'm Ryan Walsh, working for you with the 22 News I-Team.